my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. It's a bit of a weird one again because the internet's been acting up, and we've been trying to get our software that we use to get everybody together and chat about stuff and topics and all that fun. But it hasn't been really working lately, so I figured I'd just get on and make a video at least of a sort. Um, and I came across this Asmongold video, and I have no idea how old it is. I just kind of resonated with it a bit because I'm a bit of a collector and of sorts, as you can see. But he was talking about the state of video games in terms of how do you best describe it? Live service games being like psychologically taking advantage of people through whether it be autism or through a need to always participate, whatever the case might be. And those might even overlap. But in terms of like the structure of the game's design by the developers or publishers, whichever one commanded the ultimate result that we end up with. And one of them that I resonate with because I have some live service games that I play and I actually enjoy them for the most part. I've been playing them for, you know, 8,000 plus hours, and I get on every single day. I do the dailies and all that stuff because I can do them in like 5, 10 minutes maybe. But it's something that kind of struck me when he was talking about it, where something we don't recognize or realize ultimately is that we're wasting some time on things. Now, will I stop playing the game? Probably not, because I enjoy it, because I have friends that play it. That it's really one of the few ways we actually get to hang out and do stuff. But we get together for raids every Saturday night. We get to go and just have a blast, just hanging out and playing with each other and checking our builds against each other's builds, maybe test them out on each other and have a laugh because some of us suck and some of us are decent. It is what it is. Um, but something that he also said about those kind of games is that alongside them, putting in a lot of content that is designed more or less for not necessarily paying to win, because some games do that. The games I played don't do that because I don't like that system. But some of the games that I play were like they'll have a cosmetics library of wardrobe or whatever you want to call it, to where you can pay money and get a unique cosmetic of some sort. And the average one's like $10, right? It's nothing super crazy, but it's not something you can get through the game, as far as I'm aware. At least not without grinding, because they have like for Guild Wars 2, it's got like a guaranteed wardrobe unlock, so you're guaranteed to get a skin you don't already have. Now it could be a helm, it could be a pauldron, it could be legs and chest, it could be shoes, whatever the case might be, or it could be a full outfit, which is kind of cool. They also have ones like that for weapons, and then they have ones that are just one's for clothes, one's for weapons, and then they have one that's kind of for both. You can kind of grind to get them unlocked. It's kind of a pain. It takes a long time. Not really worth the effort, if I'm being honest. And then you have the kind of like the loot box system where you get this key, this chest, you put them together. But unlike a lot of games, like I think Overwatch started doing it first, was like the loot boxes, loot crates or whatever, and then you had to like get these keys, but you'd have like a million of the chests, but you'd never get the keys. So you'd have to like buy the keys separately, or they'd reward you like one a month at that, and then you end up getting something super common that's like a spray paint on the wall thing that just it's stupid. Like why even bother? Like I'm here to shoot people and take territory, not spray an emoji on the side of the wall. It's really dumb, and I don't know the point of it. But they try to pull you into these like loot crate things. Now, what I don't mind about the Guild Wars 2 one is that you can grind all that stuff. Like all the currency you can use to get those crates or to get those cosmetics, you can grind through the in-game gold. It's not impossible. It's not something that you just would never ever ever be able to accomplish. It takes a long time, and if people figure out the system and how to play the system, or go to the right places and grind the right gears to, you know, sell or make profit or salvage or whatever the case might be, you can turn around and, You've got a whole bunch of revenue that you can utilize, and I enjoy the exploration aspect of games. I enjoy action. I don't enjoy when they make action overly complicated. Like, and the thing I typically refer to in this regard is like fighter games, because fighter games, they're like, hey, you can punch, you can kick, you can punch, punch, punch to get like a special combo, which is like that's fine, whatever. But then they get to like you gotta hit A B left left right left A B B B A Y Y Y A B Y X to do one move, and it's just it I don't understand why that would be appealing to anyone. And when you have a like an arcade setup, like I remember playing like Tekken 3 at the arcade at the mall or wherever I was at that had one, and you had the little joystick with the 6 buttons, and it's like okay, with 6 buttons you could probably make it work because your fingers are moving like you're trying to beat your opponent and you're just jamming every button that you have and like just trying to get everything to work. But when you're a kid, you don't really think about the organization of how to pull this off. And it's not fun. Like fighting, sure. And I love the way that Super Smash Brothers does it, because Super Smash Brothers has a pretty decent variety of combos and abilities and stuff, but they're not overly complicated. Like if you took the Super Smash Brothers method and applied it to a Tekken, Dead or Alive, Soul Calibur, or King of Fighters, or anything like that, then you could come up with some really fun games that everyone could access. Because typically you have the pros who are doing the 17 button joystick alteration combos so they can do severe damage, but by the time you're doing that, you also have one person just walk up and pop you, and well, that's it. Like it just interrupted your combo. You're probably not gonna get it. You just have to like knock them back and then do the combo to dash forward and just obliterate them. And maybe it's a one-hit kill or something, but it's not fun. I mean, yeah, you could say like I went in, I did this really awesome combo, I took down my opponent. It was awesome. It was blast. Yeah, but you're not gonna be able to pull that off against everybody. There's always gonna be somebody faster than you, somebody who's better at it than you, all that kind of stuff. And it kind of, I don't know. It feels like it just ignores the point of the game, because like I get the competitive aspect. Like you can be competitive. I loved playing GoldenEye, 007 GoldenEye, and you know trying to beat my opponents, or playing Medal of Honor Rising Sun and playing with the bots and friends and trying to like compete point scores and whatnot. Playing Call of Duty Black Ops 1, 2, and 3, and trying to do the same thing. Halo, the same thing. My personal favorite, Time Splitters 3 in Future Perfect. And like there's it's fun to compete in that regard. But those are simplistic games. They're more of like reaction games, like swivel at the right time, anticipate an opponent, that kind of a thing. But they're still fun. Like even if you're losing, you're still having fun because you can go pick up this really, oh wow, I just picked up an RPG. They can't block that. You get a grenade launcher and you just lob it over a wall and blow up somebody. That's fun because it's completely random. It's chaos. It's just entertaining. But when you're in there smashing like 300,000 different buttons trying to get a combo off, all it takes is you to mess up once in the heat of the moment, or you get a twinge in your hand or something, and then all of a sudden it's not that much fun getting your butt kicked by somebody else, especially if they're less skilled than you. It's not fun. So you can go to things like Unreal Tournament and Quake and stuff like that, and if you want to do competitiveness, sure. But the whole game being designed around that competitiveness is a bit weird. Like, why make it complicated to where you have such a small window? Like, Super Smash Brothers, I would argue, has the largest, in my opinion, fighter audience. I mean, it's super well known. Everybody loves Nintendo characters and stuff. They might not like Nintendo, but they like Nintendo games. They like Mario. They like Yoshi. They like Kirby. They like Bowser. They like Ganondorf. They like Link. They like Samus. They like all these different characters. They like them because it's like a battle royale, the right kind of battle royale. I don't like battle royale games, but that's a fun one. Um, and it's just kind of like chaos, but all these different things. You can have teams, you can not have teams, you can do tournaments. I remember playing Super Smash Brothers Melee with my friends on Sundays, and we'd do tournament mode, and we just have like the 64 bracket system, and we'd all be like, all right, who's gonna get to the top and everything. And we knew it was gonna be us. Like, it was gonna come down to us because the AI wasn't that great. And we would just kind of burn through it, and then we'd get to each other and like, oh, time to throw down. And it was fun. But if you took that and went into the other ones, and like, again, Tekken, Street Fighter, Soul Calibur, King of Fighters, all that jazz. If you go to any of them and then utilize the same exact system that Super Smash Brothers have, you'd sell a lot more copies. Games would be more fun for the average consumer. And I get that. That's like, it sounds like a casual gamer thing. It's really not. It's just more like, I don't want to spend all my time memorizing one single combo that all somebody has to do is block it. And if they can't block it, well, why would they play it with me to begin with? They just know that they're going to come in, get obliterated, and then that's that. It's the same thing when you play Magic the Gathering. You don't pull out your 100 card deck or 60 card deck, depending on who plays standard anymore anyway. But you pull out your commander deck, and then they're like, turn 3 they win, or turn 1 is the worst. So it's like turn 1 and I win, and it's just like, why do I bother playing? What's the point of even pulling my deck out to fight you? Like, I want to have big battles. I want to have massive mana costs with no way to shorten them or no shortcuts, and you just have to pull out like giant battles of dinosaurs with dragons, or whether you're playing like plantoid or I guess fungoid, and just humans versus werewolves, or humans versus vampires versus werewolves, angels versus demons. Like, just get big battles and just see who can duke it out and win. That's fun. But just going boom, 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 I win is like, it's okay, but it's not satisfying, because all you have to do is either, one, have the superior mind and thought process for it. Two, you just have to, just have a better deck. That just, it's like, oh yeah, my deck's on average like $300,000, and it's like, my deck's like 200. Like, which one do you think's going to win on average? The more expensive one, because it's tuned, it's synced, it's designed to build upon each other to absolutely wipe whatever it's fighting. But you pull that into context with a $200 deck, you could try to do that, but everything's going to be more expensive to play, like mana cost wise, and it's going to be just more and more and more to get the little efficiency you can pull together, as opposed to a lot for little. Like, all the really good cards that are 1 drops, 2 drops, 3 drops are going to get played by this really expensive deck because they're old or whatever. They're just like, yeah, you're dropping original dual lands. Like, that's more expensive than this guy's entire deck right there, and with plenty to spare. So it doesn't seem fun to come in and just wallop somebody. Like, my Magic the Gathering pod, the guy who hosts it, he has so many decks that can just wipe the floor, but he specifically downtones his decks. Like, he plays a couple decks that are a little bit lower tier, because it's more fun to have the interaction than it is to him just step in, win. It's not fun. It's not fun for those of us who lose, because we know we don't stand a chance, and it's not fun for him because it's not satisfaction. There's no satisfaction in saying, yeah, I brought a freaking tank to a pointed stick fight. Like, it's not fun. If anybody plays Civilization, and they play like Civ 6, Civ 5, whatever, it's not fun to be the guy with warriors from the ancient period with big stone things, and somebody showing up with freaking Apache helicopters and just obliterating your entire unit, and there's nothing you can do because they just happen to snowball. It's not fun for the person involved. I know somebody who I play with that he doesn't even want to play the game much anymore because he's tired of winning, because all he does is win, and he always does win. He's really good at the game, but all he does is win, and it's really boring for him, because we even, like, if we play on the team or if we play on the other side, there's no challenge. But if we play against each other, there's still no challenge. He knows there's no challenge. We could all like have 4 of us on one side just against him, and he's gonna wipe the floor with us because he's better at the game. Now, he has to have it set up a particular way for him to like really take off, and he doesn't like it being randomized. I like it randomized because it puts us all on an even playing field, even though I'm still not as smart about it as him. But there's all these games that they think complication, like we're gonna make it a competitive. Okay, there's nothing wrong with competition. I mean, that's literally what Mario Party is. That's what, like any of the Mario games, like Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, whatever. They're competitive. You're trying to beat your friends at whatever the situation might be. Racing games, there's competitiveness. But the thing is that when you go into a racing game, The only thing you really have to learn is like how to drift, or if they have drifting, or how to steer the best, figuring out the maps and lanes you're trying to go. And I'm gonna hit this at this particular curve and slide at this angle at this point, and take this shortcut if there is one. But the vehicles all generally have some semblance of similarity. Like they're not like one's just better than everything else. It's very much balanced in terms of like, yes, you might have a lot of acceleration, but you have a very low top speed, or you have horrible handling, or whatever. There's always a drawback. That's like Super Mario Bros has, or not Super Mario Bros. Super Smash Bros has like drawbacks to the positives. So if you're really good in agility, you might have lower attack power. If you're really good at agility and attack power, you have really low defense. So if somebody gets a lick in, you might be done for. Like that's for like creating your own character if you want to. But they also have like all the other characters like Kirby, Yoshi, Zelda, Link, Ganondorf, Bowser, whoever the case might be. They're all balanced in a similar function. Like they're good at certain things, but their move sets also limit them. Like Ganondorf has this really annoying one where he goes like this, and it drives me nuts because it's like all you have to do is extend and you could hit something, but instead you try to do the elbow. Because he's power, he has to get up and close and personal, and then he can elbow you and do mass amount of damage. But he always goes short because it's an elbow, it's not a punch. And it's frustrating, but at the same time, it's there for a reason. It's because otherwise he'd be really overpowered. And he is overpowered to some extent, but his is slow but powerful. That's his gig. And alongside all that, it's just cars, whether it be Mario Kart, or Need for Speed, Burnout, any of the other games. Like there's pros and cons to every vehicle. Kind of equals out to everybody on the same playing field. If you gave everybody the same vehicle, it's literally just skill as a difference. And even despite there being skill being a difference, somebody might actually be better than you on a specific map because they know more hidden secrets, or the other players are roughing up one particular car so somebody else can slide in front of them and take the lead or something. There's a lot of ways to look at it, but ultimately it comes down to people want to have fun in a video game. Live service games don't have that much fun because at some point you're going to outrun or outpace the content. Like for Guild Wars, they have like I think it was every 3 months they have a content update, but it's like 6 months to get like a super content update, and then they might pop out a expansion or something every maybe once a year, 2 years, depending on what they have in play down the line, because it's different between each of them. And they give you a couple maps, and then they're fun to explore, and then some of them are meta maps, some of them are not meta maps. I prefer them not meta maps because you can always make an instance to make it a meta map, but they don't do that for some reason, which would give us more content and whatnot. But I also just don't like meta maps. They change the builds for what you play. Like your armor is changing constantly because whatever the meta is rotates so often. Even with legendary gear where you can change everything whenever you want to, it's really annoying to have to go in and be like, I was playing this, but I have to play this if I want to be viable. You can't just play what you want to play to have fun because they're balanced. It's because they have certain, like you have your basic casual play where you just slash a button and you hit somebody, but it's not going to hit them very hard. And then you're like, well, if I hit this thing, do this thing, do this thing, you have like a rotation that you just hit 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then all of a sudden you're doing like 30,000 times more damage than what you were doing prior, and you just run through everything like just hitting them with a snowmobile or something and just running through them. But it's this really annoying feeling to be like, I just made a fun build, and they've already made it useless and obsolete. That's really irritating. It's also really irritating when you go into a raid group with somebody and you're not doing that much despite running the exact same kit somebody else in the group is doing, and they're hitting like 20, 30,000 more DPS than you are. And you're like, why do I play this game? There's no easy way to compare. And it's like, does it have to be easy? It's like, well, it doesn't have to be easy, but it has to make sense. So if we go in and we eat the same food, we have the same rotation, we have the same buffs, everything, and we go up to the same training golem, and we're just bashing on with the exact same rotation, and we both nip it like the exact same way. If you're any numeric number higher than what I am within a, 5 up or 5 below reason, it doesn't make sense. Because if everything, all things considered, is the same exact for both of us, there's no reason for you to have 30,000 more damage than I am. There's none. Zero. Zilch. I'm sorry. That's not good balance. That means something's going wrong, and it could be a skill issue on my part or your part or whatever. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, that doesn't instill me, I want to play this. Yay, it's so much fun. No, it makes me want to just get the achievements and stop playing that particular mode anyway. It's just, it's not fun because I want to play the build that I find fun. Like, I found one of the builds when I first started playing, like early on, and it was Core Necromancer, and it had all the things you'd want. It was a raid medic build. I didn't play raids, but I liked the build because I could go in and I could pretty much just tank everything. And that was awesome. I could have minions, and basically what it was is that I would take all the debuffs from all of my allies, all the conditions, pull it onto me, send it to my minions, and then my minions would send it to an enemy. Basically, whoever they're attacking, they would transfer stuff. So it was basically just this thing where anytime the enemy gave myself or my allies conditions, I'd pull them from my allies and myself and then transfer them to my minions, and my minions would transfer them to the monster we're fighting to increase damage. I didn't do a whole lot of damage, but I could stay alive very long. And I could also, if somebody got downed, I could pull them over to me from like a distance and then warp them to me, and then I could just heal them back up because it's a raid medic build. It's designed to support your team, and it's designed to do all these things. Well, just recently they got rid of the teleportation thing. If somebody's downstate, they don't port to you anymore. So it completely just destroys that ability because combat damage slows your movement speed. So you don't. It's not like everybody moves at the same movement speed at all times. It's once you take damage or you enter into combat, you move much slower, and it makes no logical sense. I hate it with a passion. I've tried. I want to make it go away, but it doesn't matter if you have a speed boost or anything. You move slower than sludge, and it drives me nuts. But I like the game. There's ways for me to get the loot boxes or something to give me something decent potentially, because you can. There's a key farm you can do that just once a week. You boom, you hit it, you get a key, you take one of your millions of chests, and then throw it together, and you might get something decent. Sometimes it's something that's like you get maybe 15 silver worth of stuff, if that. Other times you land something's 80 gold, a 400 gold, whatever the case might be. Like it's a very expensive item, or it's an exclusive item that you can only get through the actual chest and key system. And in that sense, it's fun, it's exciting, and it doesn't require you to pay money. You can still do it. Or if you buy an expansion and you buy the Ultimate Edition, they give you like 4,000 gems, and then you wait for the keys to go on sale for as cheap as they could possibly go, and then you buy 20 of them, and then you just boop, go through. Now you're technically turning that from money because you pay extra money, but they give them to you for like half of what they normally cost because they're trying to get you to buy the Ultimate Edition. So 4,000 gems might cost, this much money, but they're only charging you this much because you're getting the game plus that much extra, but they're giving you double the gems to encourage you and kind of like, here you go. Now, I've enjoyed Guild Wars 2 in a way that is something I don't mind supporting them by getting stuff. There have been a couple times that I've not gotten the Ultimate Edition because they disappointed me. I was not happy with the way they were going with things. And at this point, I don't even care about the story mode. The story mode's kind of hot garbage. It's not that great. I wish there was a skip button on every dialogue and thing like that, just because I don't care. Because it's not well written. It's not well played out. Some of the stuff is absolutely ridiculous, especially when they're getting into the kind of political type languages and political type characters. And I'm not talking like a character vying for power. I'm talking for identity politics. And I don't care. I just want to go around with my character. I want to go gather materials because I'm really good at gathering materials. I can gather tons of materials and then craft stuff. I have all the crafting things maxed out except for one, and it's really expensive and a lot of work. So I haven't really decided to sit down and do that. I've got 2 out of 3 legendary sets, and I've got a bunch of legendary weapons. I've got all the trinkets, the legendary. I've worked my butt off to get this stuff, and it's fun to use them and say, you know what? I don't have to ever, for at least the 2 sets I have, ever have to worry about getting another set of armor in this weight range, so light and medium. I don't have to do that. I don't have to log in. I don't have to do that kind of stuff. But I do it because I enjoy it, even if it's just for a daily. But sometimes when I'm doing the dailies, I'll like, you know what? There's a single achievement over here that I've been wanting to do. I could probably do that in a reasonable amount of time, and I'll just go, I'll do my dailies, and I'll go off and I'll do that achievement, and add it to my pile. And I've got like 35,000, 36,000 achievement points. And I've really put a lot of work into it, and I don't want to just leave it. But at the same time, it makes you wonder, like, I could go play other games. And Asmongold made the point, and I'm sorry, it's a very long connection point, but that's just how I speak when I get excited about stuff. Asmongold made a point about like single player games being more fun. Now I agree to some extent. I prefer single player type games with like a multiplayer or co-op option, so I can play with my friends on that game, but it's not a live service technically speaking. It might be like Shogun 2 Total War, or Total War Shogun 2, whatever you want to call it. Total War Shogun 2, Total War 2 Shogun, whatever. You can get with a friend, like me and Sage have been going through when we get together, not making videos, and we'll play Shogun 2 co-op full campaign, and we're doing some pretty good work, and it's fun to do, even though it's technically like a single player game. They have a multiplayer like battlefield type thing where you could just you pre-make your army and you just go in, but there's like no actual map or anything. There's nothing beyond like battlefield tactics and strategy kind of a thing. And that I don't really find that fun personally. But if I can go in and I can just play a game like that, or if I can plug in my Nintendo 64 and play 007 GoldenEye with some friends, that's the feeling I want. I want the couch co-op. I want the co-op, the cooperative play style. I want the multiplayer competition. I want the single player. Like all games, in my opinion, in an ideal scenario, have a single player mode, a multiplayer mode, a co-op mode. And multiplayer and co-op can have both. Co-op from multiple different meanings of the term, but you're working together with somebody. Multiplayer I don't consider co-op. I consider it typically like a free for all or something like that, but at least have the ability to have multiple people involved. So at least 4 people playing for a multiplayer mode, a single player mode. So if you just want to play by yourself, because I always hear these single player snobs going like, "Oh, I just want single player games. Don't make multiplayer games. Don't make co-op games." Oh, they'll get even upset if a game has single player and co-op. Just play single player then. It's that simple. If it bothers you so much that there's co-op, then don't do it. It's that simple. And it drives me nuts. Because yes, you can like single player only games. You can like having this, that, and the other, but there's other people who like single player games but also like co-op and who also like multiplayer. Let them have those things. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect you playing by yourself if somebody else has other options other than you. Pretty simple. If you wanted to avoid live service games, there's tons of them. There's tons of games, like thousands and probably millions of games at this point, of just games galore where you could just play them without having to worry about stuff. There are some games that are fun, like I grinded Star Wars The Old Republic, which, that bad boy right there. That one right there. I grinded so hard in that game for a couple months because I paid for a subscription, and I didn't have much to do in those weeks, and I had never paid for a subscription before, so that was the first time for me. But I was just trying to do like 1 month because you unlocked all the expansions before, which is actually a pretty cool deal. It's like $15, you get like 4 expansions. That's pretty phenomenal. It also removes a bunch of restrictions and everything while you're still subscribed. And I did that, and I just farmed for hours because I was injured at the time, so I couldn't work. And I just farmed for hours, and I pretty much went through and got everything you could get in the game that lets you have all the paid content without paying for the content. So I had all the player races that you could pick. I had all the different types and everything, little bits and bobs you could get. Pretty much I could access everything a subscriber can access, except I have a money cap at like 100,000 or something like that. Or yeah, I think it's 100,000. Or maybe it's a million. Million might be the cap. I don't remember. Probably a million. And that, and I can't do the raid system. Those are the only two things I cannot do in the game. Everything else I can do because I worked my butt off to make sure I could have all that because I didn't want to keep paying them money. Now I do think it's silly that I can't access raids. That's just silly because I mean, if I don't find your game enticing enough to go give you a ton of money, there's no reason for me to like want to keep doing so because it's like, oh yeah, I got to play raids once a week, so I got to do it roughly 4 times for $15. That's kind of lame. I mean, I should say 4 instances once a week. 4 instances a month. That's not a whole lot. That's pretty pricey, $15 for that. And yes, there's a couple other perks and stuff, but like I said, I unlocked all that other stuff. And then they try to nickel and dime you with things like dyes. It blows my mind. Guild Wars 2 has a great dye system. Once you have it unlocked, it's unlocked. So you can use it as many times as you want. Star Wars: The Old Republic, you got to get a different one every single time. And some of them are bloody expensive. The First Descendant has a similar thing I don't like because you unlock a paint color or whatever. And you're like, oh, that's cool. I have a paint color. But then it only works one time. And you gotta buy another one. And if you've ever played the First Descendant, there's almost nothing in there that's actually cheap. Like you're paying $30 to $60 to get something. It's not cheap. It's not good. Like the monetization is definitely a Nexon thing, and I don't like Nexon. Yes, I know that Nexon publishes Guild Wars 2, but Guild Wars 2 has its own monetization system and everything. And it's not that bad. People support it because it's good content in terms of like the quality of the outfits. Some of them are pretty lame. Some of the weapons and stuff pretty lame, and I don't know who hired people to do that. They don't understand how gravity physics work and all that stuff. There's limiting a lot of ways for Guild Wars 2 because it's run by blue-haired, purple-haired people now, but it's the First Descendant's fun, and I like it, and I don't mind grinding. But I don't want to pay $70, $80, $90 to get a single skin. That's a little ridiculous. I don't know if you all remember when Dead or Alive 5, Last Round, I believe is what it was called, when that came out on Steam. There was the whole modding incident when Tecmo Ninja was like, hey, we're going to release this game, but don't make any adult content mods. And within 24 hours, there was adult content mods. Like naked chicks or very spicy outfits. And that stuff happened within 24 hours because you don't tell the internet what to do. That's the first rule. But then they're like, we're never going to make another one of these games for PC ever again. And they did. They made 6, but whatever. But when it came out, it was this concept where they had DLC. Not new characters, just outfits. I think 1 or 2 of them might have had a new map or something like that, but not for that kind of money. But it was like $98, $94, something like that, for like 20 outfits. They're just outfits. That's it. And you couldn't unlock them in the game. So it's like, it used to be in fighter games and just generally in games that there's a lot of behind the scenes hidden objects or something that you could like unlock. Like Time Splitters Future Perfect is perfect in this regard because every time you clear something, there was in like bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Now, if you did bronze, you got bronze. If you got silver, you got silver and bronze rewards. And if you did gold, you got gold, silver, and bronze reward. And if you did platinum, you got everything. And so you're trying to get platinum in as much as you could possibly get. And every time you got one of these rewards, whether it be doing a mission solo, doing a mission in co-op, and having to do it in each version of the difficulty. So doing it easy, doing it in a medium, and doing it hard. That's for single player. That's for co-op campaign. And then you go onto the side little quest things. They have these little arcade-like type mini games and stuff. You do the same thing there, and it would unlock you maps. It would unlock you guns. It would unlock you different kind of little bits and bobs, outfits for characters and stuff like that. And it was just fun. You didn't have to pay anything extra. It's just you buy the game, you have it. And that's all we wanted. That's the best way to do it. Now, if you're going to do selling DLC, be like, hey, if you want to support us as the developers more than just buying the game, and usually if you're buying the game, it should be built into the game. But if you're like, it's a free to play game, you wanna just support us, get something cool out of it, and we can make some money off of it, I don't think that's inherently bad. I just think you have to be careful of how you do it as a developer. I'm saying this as somebody who's not a developer, but I understand the concept behind development, business, and etc. So the live service thing's gotten out of hand. They've lost the plot, so to speak, because they think they're going to make more money, and they do make money, don't get me wrong, but they think they're going to make money, and it's the same way Hollywood does things. Hollywood does things where they're like, we're going to make money by, just making a film, and people are just going to throw money at us. And a movie might do really, really well because it's kind of like, it's mediocre or whatever, and people are just dying for anything that's better than trash, and they make a lot of money off of it. But then you see something like Godzilla Minus One. It's like $15 million, and it made a ridiculous amount of money. Like, easily. Like, even if it made $100 million, it made a ridiculous money. I think it made like 3, 4, 5, maybe even up like 800. Like, it made a ridiculous amount of money. Ridiculous. And it's like, okay, if you did that in games, you make something cheaper, not like cheap as in quality, but cheap as in pricing, where it's, a $50, $60 game or whatever, anywhere like $30 to $60 game, and it touches that Highland fear. It hits all those little spots and things that you want, like, oh, this is interesting, oh, this is fun, oh, I got this competitive thing to do, oh, I've got this scoreboard, whatever. And it's just kind of like, what can I do that can be fun about it? And it has all the beats. And it's like, oh yeah, well, we only put like, 5 million into this game. That seems like a lot because it is technically, but like you put 5 million into like a AAA game, and what do you get? Like $300 million into something like that. And you're like, okay, oh my goodness. Have cats, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Uh-oh. Anyway. So it's like this strange design that they think they're going to make a lot of money by nickel and diming you, when they actually would make more money just making something that's reasonably priced, that you have access to, preferably permanently owned, and then just throwing it out there. Be like, okay, you know what? We're going to just sell a game for 50, 60 bucks, and hopefully we'll sell, 2 million copies of it or something. Because then we're going to make a killing, right? Or you could do something, was it like Valheim sold like 2 million copies, and it was like made by one person. That guy made a killing. He was the publisher, he was the developer, he made a killing. And now he has like 4 or 5 developers working with him to help him push out content and stuff. Good on him. He made good stuff. Yes, I'm swinging my head around. But when it came to like making money, they're always like, "Oh, well, we made plenty of money." So, but you could have had more money. You could have pulled a Daredevil, or not Daredevil, a Deadpool and Wolverine instead of just a, mediocre whatever movie. Like, you could have made more. It's very possible, because they always think, well, we made a lot of money. It's like, well, but you could have made more. You just did it wrong. Now, it sounds counterintuitive, and in some ways it is, but it works. Because if you give somebody an Among Us, people buy it, even though it's like $3-5 or something like that. It's like, it's really stupid cheap. It's like a single beefy 5-layer burrito at Taco Bell. Just boom, just give up one of those beefy 5 layers. Boom, you have a game basically indefinitely until they shut the servers down or whatever. And then you have really fun time of people just playing with each other and just making fools of themselves or fools of others, and it's fun. They made a killing. I wouldn't be surprised if they ever make an Among Us 2 and they have different type of mechanics and whatnot. Or maybe they change it from the top down. Maybe they just keep the same game and they just add more maps. I think they're constantly adding maps, making new character cosmetics and things. That's what they do. But it's simple and easy rather than complicated and expensive. Like Assassin's Creed Shadows. Way overcosted. Way too many people working on that game and not getting nearly what you should be getting out of it in value. And you don't have any quality protection in place. Like nobody's going in there and checking the quality and saying, you know what, this is a bad idea. We're going to lose a lot of money because of this. And then lo and behold, they're already losing money because they have to go through, fix things, tweak things, blah, 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 do this, that, and the other. It's like with, I think it was like 18,000 employees. With 18,000 employees, you should have that game polished in like 6 months. You have so many people working on it. But you took like, how many years was it? Like 8 years or something like that? Six to 8 years. You know how much money that game has been put into the system, what they have to pay, how much money they have to make off of it is very much akin to like Dragon Age Veilguard, which I think also was like 8 years, and they changed it at some point in that process, like 2 years in or something. And it's like, you guys had a decent story system. It might not have been the best. It might have been the best. I don't know, but you had a system in place. And with that system in place, you probably could have just gone through and whatever, and made your money and made, even if it was a mediocre Dragon Age game, you'd been fine. Then you made Dragon Age Veilguard for like, I mean, it's probably much higher than 250 million, but it bombed hard because it's not what people want. That's not what the gamers wanted. That's not the culture of the world at the moment. There's not that many people who wanted that type of a game where you had a whole lot more people who are a big fan of the Dragon Age, I don't want to say trilogy, but like Dragon Age IP that would have paid you money out of the wazoo for a game they actually wanted. But you rather have a 2 minute sit down talking about how not to, misgender or whatever somebody, or to explain what non-binary is to somebody that in a language already has a word, but you refuse to use that word because reasons, modern audiences. That kind of stuff, you should be ashamed of yourself. You deserve, as a studio, to be shut down. Every single studio that goes in and flubs, I mean flubs, deserves to be shut down because they didn't listen to what the gamers, consumers, the customers, whatever you want to call them, clientele, whatever they wanted, you didn't deliver them that. So, that being said, you should not be in the industry if you will not do that. Now, to be fair, it's sometimes just the people in the higher up positions forcing everyone below them to do that. If that's the case, if somebody starts doing that to you at your job, you should jump ship and go somewhere that's going to actually like not do that to you. Because that's going to go on your resume, probably. Because, I mean, how are you going to go 8-year gap on your resume because you worked on Dragon Age Veilguard? Yeah, right. But you could have had a really nice resume, even if it was working on a not as well popular name or didn't sell as much as Dragon Age, but it also didn't spend as much as Dragon Age. You could have had that. And in having that, would have a better look for your resume. You could have a better, stable job with less people who are being judgmental towards you. There's a lot of things you could have possibly have done. So jump ship before you don't get the chance to. And that behavior is exactly what they pull into the live service type stuff. And Asmongold made a lot of good points, and I agree with him on probably 90% of them. And the thing that really resonated me with out of all of that was the collecting of things, like the doing the daily religiously, the bringing everything kind of together in terms of, for some people it's just a mindset. For me, it's like I have to do it. Like I have no choice. It's built into my DNA at this point where it's like I will go in, I'll do my dailies, and that's not that big of a deal. But like I want to collect everything. I want to go to my collectibles and my wardrobe or whatever and say, yeah, I have all these things that I can get. And basically, if it's not locked behind either a paywall or a special collections area, I pretty much have everything in the game that I can possibly get. And I have some of them that are really, really hard to get. And there's a couple of them that are just way too expensive to get my hands on at the moment. But if I get them as a drop or something late on the future, then I'll use them or something. But it's it's just a very difficult thing for me to be like, I need to have this because one, I like it. Two, I'm a collector. That's what I do. I collect things because I like them, and I usually prefer them in the fancier version of them. Like I want the Ultimate Collector's Edition, Limited Edition, Deluxe Edition, whatever the case might be. I mean, I've got the Castle Panic board game down here that I managed to get my hands on, and it's this ginormous box. It's like this big. It's got miniatures instead of just the cardboard pieces. It's this monstrosity of a board game. I've never seen a board game that big. Um, but I was like, I just want the special version of it because it's going to be more fun to play than just the boring old version. It just is. It's going to naturally be that way for me because one has miniatures, which are more interesting than just flat discs by definition. There's nothing wrong with the flat discs. It's just the miniature is more interesting, more unique, and then just plain downright cooler. It's actually made of a high quality material. It almost feels like a real chest. It's price comparative too, but um, there's there's something about wanting to collect things that you're just like I need to do this. And if you're gonna get one, you need to get both. If you're gonna get both, you get all three. And if you can get three, get all four. I like when I get like up here, I've got my mangas and stuff. When I when I get a manga, I don't buy volume one and then just whatever. And I definitely don't buy volume two if I don't have volume one. Um, I buy the whole set at once because I don't want to have just an odd random pairing of manga or anime or books I enjoy or whatever. I don't want to have Wheel of Time book 4, 7, 9, and 15. I don't want that. I want the whole thing, and I definitely want them to be logically following like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I want them in order. And maybe I can only find 5 and I have to get 6 through 12 later on in a different time period. That I kind of just have to decide if I want to go that route or not. But as long as they're together in a bundle of some sort that I can actually like get them close together, that's just how I operate. So when a live service company is like, we're gonna do this thing, Asmongold's right, and it takes a long time for somebody to recognize it. And I've known it for a while, but he just put it into words better than I could. And it was a very interesting way of thinking about it. And I thought maybe I should have just reacted to Asmongold's video, but I mean, there's not really a point because, I mean, he's saying basically everything that I'd be saying. He probably says it more succinctly. I'm more of a rambler. I'm more of a person who's more pedantic about topics, and all around it just I prefer more complicated things in that regard. But it's not like Asmongold's ever going to care about who I am, so I don't really care enough to do that as a reaction video. It's not going to ever get to him, so whatever. But it's coming up with a similar or the same type of system that doesn't necessarily take advantage of people like me who a bit on the weaponized autism spectrum, and we just need to have all the collectors. We need to explore every corner of this. Like if anybody played Guild Wars 1, you had to like smush your face against this invisible wall all the way out of the map just to get your map completion. And I did that on a character for 2 continents, and I'm working on the 3rd continent. And it's a pain in the butt. It's kind of fun, but it's also a pain in the butt. But I enjoy it because it's exploration. But I could have done without it. They could have made it a little bit easier. They have an entire achievement for it, and some people do care, and some people don't care. Most people probably don't care. But it's something where those of us who do, we feel compelled to do it. But at the same time, if it starts consuming a lot more time than its effort, and that's kind of what Asmongold went through, was like, he's kind of done with it now. He wants to shift over to single player games. I enjoy single player games to a certain extent. I always prefer co-op games though, because it's more fun to have fun with a friend. It's just more fun to have joking conversations as you're going around. Like imagine like playing Skyrim. I know they have a mod for that, but like imagine playing Skyrim on a console where you could have you and a friend go in and everything becomes more difficult based upon how many clients are connected to the same thing, and then just doing different builds, doing like almost a D&D. Like, oh my gosh, having a Skyrim game with up to 4 player would be basically Gauntlet Legends. It's literally what it is. It just you're the wizard, he's the archer, you got your warrior, and you got your healer. Like you just going around and you're just blasting things, doing things in events and stuff as a group. That would be fun. Don't get me wrong, Skyrim itself is fun, but like having more people would make it even more fun. Having some games be hyper realistic in terms of like the weather's cold, so you have to wear the right kind of coat. Or if it's really really hot, you have to wear like a linen type of fabric to keep from overheating or something. And those kind of things, they have them in different things. 7 Days to Die has a version of that. Don't Starve Together has a version of things like that. But like putting them into like a hyper realistic and a more cartoony, non-realistic kind of categories, and then letting people play what they feel like they want to play at the time. That would be a great way to handle this situation. But live service is just about milking you for money, and that's why I can't really stand mobile games, because mobile games are just atrocious. It's they don't do anything, and there's some games, and I've just recently come to realize that like Once Human's literally just a mobile game for PC. That's what it is. It's got a gotcha system. It's got a thing where you have to put money in to get very exclusive skins, and it's not guaranteed. It's not like you buy the skin, you buy the chance to get the skin. It's a Chinese based game. I'd rather do First Descendant, where I'm know that even like if I go play a gotcha game and I put in $5 for every try and I'm not getting it, and 6 tries I'm probably not going to get the item I want. But if I'm going to the First Descendant and the equivalent of 6 tries, I pay that in cash, I get the thing I want. Boom, that's better for me because I'm actually paying you for what I want. And if I really enjoy the gameplay, if I enjoy the maps, if I enjoy how everything's working and all the builds and all that stuff, well, then I want to pay you money to show you I'm supporting you. That's the natural expectation. So there needs to be a change in the video game industry, and I don't know who's going to be the head of that change, so to speak. But I would like it to be something that, I mean, personally, I've had a dream of mine is to do a video game development slash publisher company. Like I want to publish games to other people, and I want to develop my own games and all that kind of stuff. I have the creativity and the vision, if you will, to do such things. I don't have the money means. I don't have the programming skills and all that type of stuff. So like I'd have to hire people to do that type of stuff. But I can be like, here's a world, here's a story, here's dialogue, all these random NPC characters. Here's the main story, here's the main dialogue, here's all the different companions and how they can benefit off of you or whatever. Like I have that stuff. But I want to make stuff that has single player, multiplayer, co-op. Like anybody can enjoy it as long as you're into that genre. Like I'm into fantasy role playing games. It's a fantasy role playing game, has single player, multiplayer, co op, whatever it is that you want to play as, you could play that. If you want to play with friends, play with friends. If you want to play by yourself, play by yourself. It's up to you because I want to give you the most choice possible. But I don't have the funds for this. But somebody out there should do that. Somebody, anybody. There's possible contenders like Elon Musk. He's got money where he could fund a small dev company with the right vision that could blow itself out of proportion and get bigger and bigger and bigger and just keep making game after game after game that is just a knock out of the park. So low cost, high efficiency output. And they would bring in so much money that they could probably have their own multi studio system set up and maybe make a publisher system and whatever. I mean, Eric July from Rubberverse. He's got Ripasend to help out small creators send out physical copies of things from a warehouse kind of system, which is cool. I think people should take advantage of that kind of stuff. But if you have that for a publisher, if you have a publisher that's like, we want these kind of things for our games. If your game falls in this category, aka you're making games specifically for gamers, you're not pushing an agenda. You can have politics in your game if they're in world relatable politics, not modern audience based politics. But you can put your own world out there, and then you do this, and we'll publish it for you. That would be cool. It'd be really cool. And if they do really well, then like it's not the publisher telling the games what to do, it's just telling them what they are allowed to publish. Like as a publishing company, we will publish these things, we won't publish these things. And then you just go with that. And you put that in the contract, you make sure everybody's aware of that. And then the developers are like, okay, the publishers get X amount and we'll get the rest of the amount and whatever, and then we'll pay whatever we have to pay for everyone involved. And they just make really fun games that people want to play. It's that simple. It's really that simple. It doesn't take much to think like, I've got this world in mind. It's going to have vampires, werewolves. It's going to have zombies. It's going to have angels, demons. It's going to have all these different types of creatures and characters and cities and towns and countries and kingdoms, whatever. And there's going to be swords. There's going to be, magical weapons. There's going to be armor, magical armor. There's going to be horses. There's going to be, steam powered. It could be whatever the case might be. You could have so many different types of games. And as long as you know what you want, you can make them come true. And in doing so, make a really fun, fantastic game that could turn around and make so much profit that you're golden. And you can make more games. You can make more and more games. You can make more and more and more and more games. But the more games we make that way, the less hold and a grip that the AAA industry has on us. And the AAA industry isn't typically making good games. Very few games are good or excellent. And it seems like nowadays very few of them are not politically motivated or ideologically motivated. And we don't want that in our games because we want to escape that stuff. If we wanted those kind of things, we would just go outside and experience that. And the whole reason of escaping into this world of magic, sorcery, competitions, or tournaments and stuff is because we don't want to deal with that stuff right now. So if somebody can go out there and make that, please do. I want to buy your game. I want to support you. I want to know what I can do to help get the word out that people know your stuff. Because I want good quality content. And at this point, I'm not getting it from AAA. They might make the game look gorgeous because it's like they make really good models. They have a beautiful layout and everything. That might be very well the case. But as soon as their character opens their mouth, I'm taken right out of the world because they're more interested in the modern audience than I am. Because I just don't care. And I think a lot of people are that way too. But, I mean, I'm just me. So, sorry if that was just too much of a rant and whatnot. I have a tendency to do that when I am passionate about something or whatnot, as you guys have probably experienced with other long form content. So, hopefully it's not too out there. I do things off the spur of the cuff. I don't write out large scripts and whatnot because I would get lost and it would just feel so inauthentic, and that's just not me. I'm better at reacting to things as they happen, which would make me probably a pretty decent react content channel. But I also don't want to just do that for the sake of doing that. I want to only react to things that actually deserve to be reacted to. So thanks everybody for listening if you have been listening. And if you've got this far, you're freaking awesome. And I definitely appreciate you. And I hope you'll stick around for more content and from this channel and whatnot. I've got lots of things I'd like to do. I just need software to work so I can do them. So thanks everybody for hanging out and watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz if you enjoy the content. And remember, my friends, walk in the light.